What is up? Wendy, Carol, Joanne, Chris. Chris is saying early for once. How's everyone doing? We'll wait a few minutes for people to trickle in. And of course, I did not get my links ready. So give me a second. But how's your Rooster? How's it going? How's your Saturday going? Did you guys do anything interesting today? While we wait for people to come in and let me pull up my links. I cleaned today. That's what I did. My room got a much needed cleaning. Joanne did laundry. I'm doing that too as well. Oh, did not save my links. Hold on here. Oh, it did. Almost had a heart attack there. I thought my computer didn't save my links for a second. Julissa, what's up? As we wait for people to trickle in, I know this is I usually like to start off with something crazy. It's usually not spooky related, but while we wait, that way you don't just stare at me staring at you. I thought this was kind of hilarious. You might have heard of it. Julissa, I am doing great. You might have heard it. You might have seen it in the news, but I thought it was kind of hilarious. So we're gonna start off with this, and we'll get into the spooky as more people come in. Well, this is Chinese zoo under fire after dying dogs to resemble pandas. And yes, they died 2 dogs and they made them look like pandas. And I thought that was kind of crazy. So a zoo in China has been accused of trying to deceive visitors with a pair of dogs dyed black and white to look like panda bears. Videos circulating on Chinese social media show the 2 panda dogs in an exhibit at Taizhou Zoo in the eastern province of Jiangsu that opened on May 1st. Though the animals are patterned to look like pandas, which are endemic to China and an international symbol of the country, their wagging tails gave them away. Zoo officials told Chinese state media that they were Chow Chows, a fluffy dog breed originally from northern China, painted black and white to resemble giant pandas. What? They're being scandalous over there. Adding that they had clearly advertised them as panda dogs and did not make any false claims. The dogs are still at the zoo, officials told NBC News by phone on Friday, where the number of people coming to see them remain at a normal level. The zoo, which does not have real pandas, was nonetheless criticized by state media and others for misleading visitors and mistreating the dogs. It is not funny at all to dye Chow Chow dogs to attract tourists. One commenter wrote on a social media platform, Weibo, their fragile skin and natural thick coats make them susceptible to skin diseases. Zoo officials defended the exhibit, saying the dogs had not been harmed. Normal people dye their hair, a spokesperson told Qlu Evening News. Dogs can dye their hair too. It's the same as hair. I mean, depending on what I've seen it done to dogs, I'm assuming there is dog safe dye. But there's also people that are cruel that actually use human dyes on these poor animals. Tammy, what's up? This is not the first time the panda dogs have set off social media discussion in China. In 2019, a dog cafe in the southwestern province of Sichuan raised animal rights concern with its 6 Chow Chows that were also dyed to look like bears. What the? Why would they do that? In 2020, in the same province, a panda being walked by a woman in a video that went viral was revealed to be a dyed Chow Chow. Other zoos in China have also been accused of having fake animals, often dogs, they try to present as wolves or African cats. Last July, a zoo in the eastern province of Zhejiang denied that its Malayan sun bears were human beings. Oh, I talked about this. The Malayan sun bears were human beings in disguise after a video of one standing like a person went viral. Experts debunked the claim, and the zoo said there was no way a person in a fursuit would be able to withstand such high summer temperatures. You'd be surprised. So, guys, hold on. Is there like a video of these poor things? That's a different video. Hold on. I think there is, but they want to talk about something else. Let me see if I can re-pull this up. Give me a second, guys, so we can see the video while we wait for people. Lisa Boo, what is up? How's it going? While we wait for people to come in before we get into the spooky. Let's see if this. They're cute. Kyle, what's up, Angel? How's it going, Matthew? Heather, whatever. Dusty, how's it going? Tyrana! As we wait for people to trickle in, I shared this article about a Chinese zoo dyeing chow chows to look like pandas. Brandon and Daisy, what's up? So, guys, what do you think of these? And I didn't even share the screen. Oh my god, you guys didn't even look at the video. You were looking at me looking like this. I love it. So here you go. Here's the video because stupid me didn't have it on the tape. You were like you were literally watching me do this. So here's the video. I we're to do a recap. A Chinese zoo dyed chow chows to look like panda bears, and here is the video that I was listening to, but you guys were not did not see. You were seeing my crazy mug, but that's okay. Stuff happens.
They may be unbearably adorable, but they weren't actually bears at all. The latest exhibit at this zoo in eastern China had visitors doing a double take. These pandas are really chow chow puppies, advertised as panda dogs, and social media can't get enough of them.
Look quickly, and there's a resemblance to the rare giant panda. Sort of.
But some zoogoers in China aren't happy about what they call a deception. According to Chinese state media, the zoo said it dyed the dogs black and white because they didn't have any pandas. A worker insisted visitors are not being misled and that the fuzzy chow chows are accurately described as dogs. A spokesperson for the zoo tells media outlet Jam Press people also dye their hair. Natural dye can be used on dogs if they have long fur. But how do the dogs
Heather,
feel about
whatever,
it?
I
This is
am
something
not
that's
sure if the
kind of being
dye could
forced on the
blind them, but I
animal
know there's
for the sake of
people
human
that do
entertainment.
dye
It isn't the
their
first time a
animals'
Chinese
hair, but
zoo
I
was
think it's
mixed up
with
in
safe.
an animal controversy. Last year, Angela, a Malayan sun bear, went viral after it was caught on camera walking on its hind legs. Social media exploded, with some claiming it was a person dressed up as a bear, which was later debunked. Actual pandas are an incredible sight, lovable and playful, helping to boost zoo tourism around the globe. The San Diego Zoo shared pictures of two giant pandas expected to arrive this summer, Yun Chuan and Xin Bao, a highly anticipated import after three giant pandas departed from the Smithsonian Zoo in DC last year.
I love them. They're so cute.
Now that panda-sized void even felt across the world, with dogs being used as unlikely
I
stand-ins.
mean, they
Zoos
look
are there to educate.
cute.
Zoos are there to inspire.
They
Zoos
do.
are to promote conservation. They're not there to promote painting domestic animals with colors to represent wild animals.
They're cute, but I don't know about dyeing the dog's hair. Anne goes, I got a resident that loves you, similar cat ear headband. Oh, that is cool, Anne. Kyle goes, pandas have a hard time breeding, but it's still deceptive. Julissa goes, we are getting a panda at the San Francisco Zoo soon. I am so excited. Kyle goes, we have a few Canadian-born pandas born in the zoo up here. Joanne goes, even though people dye their hair, it is still not very good for their hair. True. I try not to. It's not good because your hair could fall out, so I can imagine that could happen to an animal too. But I would never do that to my dog. That kind of sucks. But they look cute, don't get me wrong, and I guess the zoo had advertised them as panda dogs, so they are saying that they did not deceive people. So if they said panda dogs, that's fine. But still, I don't know if I would do that to the Chow Chow, the poor puppies. I mean, they probably just thought they were taking a bath, but still, I would not do that to them. But nonetheless, it's kind of hilarious, though. Tyrana goes, they are so cute. They are. They are super cute. I'm Chris. I am waiting for my hair to turn all gray, and then I'm going to dye it some crazy color. It's going to be a while. No, the only reason why I'm going to do that, I saw a woman that had, I'm assuming her hair was gray because she would walk in and it was this bright purple. She would have colorful hair every time she came in, so that inspired me. Joanne goes, Chow Chows are beautiful naturally. Yes, they are. I agree. Heather, whatever goes, my dog without a schnauzer cut just looks like a crazy mop. Kyle goes, they are panda dogs just like the Tibetan Mastiff. It's a mountain lion. Dusty goes, they say that dye goes everywhere in your body. Not good to do if pregnant. If you have either had a broken bone, it settles into the cracks. Oh, I never heard about the broken bone, but I did hear that it's not that great for you and you shouldn't do it all the time. Because if you do it, if you bleach your hair too many times, like your hair might fall off and stuff like that. That's not good. Or it will become brittle. Bernadette, what is up? How's it going? All right, to get on with the eerie, the terrifying, the unexplained, the spooky wooky. Heather, whatever, I believe chows do have black tongues. I have this article from the Irish Star. I thought it was kind of to start it off with. We don't really have a topic. It is many topics today, but it all remains with the spooky wookiness, the terrifying, and the unexplained, the paranormal. Because I couldn't just get a topic off of all these cool articles. So this is from the Irish Star. It goes, ghosts can time travel and get trapped in places where evil has happened, expert says. And the key word is expert. Paranormal author and podcaster Jim Harrell believes spirits can transcend space and time, and souls can get trapped in places where evil deeds have taken place. And thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Welcome, Angel Nikki, Sam Aguilar. Sorry, I can't read that far. The Pink Pantress, R. Farrell, and Patty Mole. Welcome to the Wolf Pack. Hearts for Ann and all the new Wolf Pack members. Thank you, Ann. You are totally awesome. Paranormal author and podcaster Jim Harrell. And don't be afraid to say hi. We do not bite. We're like a big, huge family here. Paranormal author and podcaster Jim Harrell believes that ghosts can time travel and become trapped in locations where evil events have occurred. In his latest books, it doesn't say books, it says book. True Ghost Stories, Jim Harrell's Campfire Volume 6. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on here. Because it kind of, because it says Campfire Volume 6. I mean, I have, this is kind of weird that says in his book Campfire when I have this book. Thought it was almost the same thing. So I was like, what? He delves into spine-chilling stories of ghosts, UFOs, and eerie creatures. Jim states it appears humans have this ability to transcend physical constraint of geography when the chips are down. He further adds, I believe it speaks to the amazing properties of the human spirit in that our consciousness is not simply a brain and a skull, but something that can tap into a universal consciousness of some sort. The stone tape theory, first proposed by scientist Charles Babbage in 1837, suggests that energies can linger in places long after the physical body has departed. I do believe that. Jim, who resides in Ohio, USA, with his wife and 2 daughters and holds a master's degree in applied communication theory and methodology, says, I believe there can be sentient ghosts, but also that energy can saturate a space that causes a replay of sorts. He continues, this can result in replays of people who were in space centuries before. In space, you say. He cites the 41st story in his book, A Breathtaking Apartment, which explores a distressing feeling in a place with bad energy in an apartment linked to serial killer Ted Bundy. We see this in our everyday lives when we walk into a room after an argument. The fight may have ended, but the bad energy remains. If it's intense enough, it can last for decades or more. Dr. Callum Cooper of Boffin from University of Northampton suggests communicating with spirits through a medium as a way to deal with grief. Jim states most humans have some psychic ability, but there are legitimate superstars, the David Beckhams and Eric Claptons of the psychic world, who are born with a natural talent to sense and interfere with the supernatural. In the 27th story, Crisis Apparition book, from my book, a woman sees her father in her bedroom at the same moment he is in real physical danger hundreds of miles away while scaling a mountaintop. This phenomenon of spirits transcending the physical limitations of space and time during moments of distress is similar to the third man factor, where people in physical distress report seeing or talking with a person who isn't there and helps them. Wait a minute. I had an article that I did not share that was about this. I may actually add this to there. And it was about the third man factor. In a world fraught with war, climate change worries, and cost of living crisis, especially since after the pandemic, it's not surprising that the curiosity about what might be waiting for us after death, has surged in popularity. I think it's always been popular. People have always wanted to know if there's life after death and what the afterlife is like. So I don't think there's a surge in popularity. I think it's always been popular. There's always been people that's curious about it. After launching the Paranormal podcast in 2005 and his Campfire podcast 4 years later, Jim has accumulated over 65 million downloads and believes that scientific evidence is not necessary to validate the existence of paranormal activity. He remarks, I'm a great respecter of science. I could do my books or podcasts without it. However, history is full of examples where science was wrong or had a blind spot. True. Science did not know about DNA until the 1860s and did not figure out its structure until the 50s. However, it was there long ago, there all along. Just because science doesn't acknowledge a phenomenon does not mean it is untrue or a hoax. I think most sensible humans have a healthy respect for science and the unknown. That doesn't mean every ghost story is true, but I believe some very much are. Nikki Bella, what is up? Sometimes we see what might be considered to be ghosts or doppelgangers from other dimensions, other times, and the ghost is just as shocked as the person seeing the apparition. True Ghost Stories, Jim Harold's Campfire Volume 6 is available now for anyone that's interested. But guys, what do you think of his theory? He does make some good points. That energy stays within a place long after a situation has happened, which I do agree. I do agree with him on that one. How they talked about the popularity of the afterlife, and I think it says a surge. And this is a fairly new article too, but I feel like everyone has always wanted to know what the afterlife was like, and it's always been a topic of interest. Logical Spock, what's up? Chris, can you flip my laundry too? Aaron goes, love this channel. Thank you, Ann. I appreciate that. Heather, whatever goes, it's always been a topic for sure. He said something about space, and that one seemed let me see if I can find it. He said something about space, which I kind of felt was like space. Where he goes, I believe there can be sentient ghosts, but also that energy can saturate a space that causes a replay of sorts. This can result in replays of people who were in a space centuries before. Okay, so that's the same as the energies being left. I was thinking space, actual space, but that's as what I was saying earlier, that an energy can remain long after a person has died or a situation took place. Even objects, as Joanne says, I agree. Even objects hold energy. Everything does. I do agree. That's why you have to sometimes be careful of what you buy at a thrift store. I've seen too many ghost stories involving someone buying an old piece of furniture and because they have a business where they refurbish old furniture, and that piece of furniture ends up being haunted and carries some bad energy with it. So Heather, whatever goes, cosmic photograph or hologram, perhaps some Civil War battlefield scenes sound like that to me. Dusty goes, afterlife and religion are so connected that I would consider the topic as old as religion. I agree with you, Dusty. I don't feel like this article had said that it's surging in popularity, but I agree with you. I feel like it's always been around. It's always been a topic of interest. Kyle goes, siege that shit. Or they'll get something like a jewelry box. That's a one where they get a jewelry box from like a thrift store or something, and it ends up having a disturbing backstory. Or I don't know, I don't remember what movie it was, but it was the one that had the actor that played Negan in it, and I think it was the actor that played Negan in it. And he brings back this box from a yard sale and ends up being a Dybbuk box. It's a good movie. And the daughter just ends up being possessed by this box. I forgot the name of the movie, and it's a really good movie. But that's stuff like that. Like, you got to be careful with as Joanne says, with what you buy sometimes. Shiloh Toto, what's up? Because it could carry some energy that you do not want in your house. Now that movie's gonna kill me. And I rewatched it recently through as well. Bernadette goes, yeah, be careful. And my butt goes and buys 2 haunted things. I still buy haunted things though, because those don't. I know. I don't go by my. It's like do as I say, but I'll give advice, but I don't take my own advice type of thing. Yeah, I'm the same way as you, Bernadette. I'll buy haunted things anyways. I don't care. All right, so that article had mentioned third man syndrome. I've never talked about it. I did remember finding an article about it, but I never shared it. So we are going to share it, considering that article had brought it up to see what it is. And it's, oh my God, these ads. What is the third man syndrome inside the spooky phenomenon where people in danger feel a presence by their side, which helps them survive, only to discover there was nobody there? A recent episode of Law & Order SUV has sent social media into meltdown. A recent article with an intriguing storyline about third man syndrome, a phenomenon that occurs in times of extreme distress and crisis, such as a near-death experience. Have any of you heard of the third man syndrome? I have never heard of it, so this is something new for me. People from around the world have reported how a stranger appeared and provided comfort, solace, or support, or guided them to safety during traumatic experiences, only for it to turn out that there was no one else there. I've heard of someone having like an experience where a stranger had helped them, but I never knew there was a name connected to it. The term, which is sometimes also known as the third man factor, resurfaced on social media after it was referenced in an episode of Law & Order SUV last month. The episode detailed a brutal assault in the street of a man named Javier who claimed that there was someone else besides him during the attack. But when police could not find the other person, Olivia Benson, played by Mariska Hargitay, said, well, he may not exist because the woman who saw the whole attack said that Javier was alone. Detective Terry Bruno, played by Kevin Kane, added it could be a case of the third man syndrome. It's a weird hiccup in the human brain where it's trying to comfort itself in survival situations, not too different than a guardian angel. Taking to X, formerly known as Twitter, to leave their thoughts on the theory, many said that they had never heard of it, which I haven't either. Shiloh Toto goes, I haven't heard of it. Julissa hasn't. Matthew, what's up? Tyrana hasn't. Matthew hasn't. Heather, whatever, says angels. That's what I would think of it as. One person said, learned today about third man syndrome, and I would love for a mystic to hit me up right now about it. Another added, accidentally ruined my best friend's day by excitingly telling her about third man syndrome while she was on a mountaineering course in the snow. Someone else said, SVU got me researching third man syndrome, while a fourth wrote, third man syndrome, that's a new one for me. # Law & Order SUV. Third man syndrome has been experienced by mountaineers, polar explorers, divers, prisoners of war, solar sailors, astronauts, and even 9/11 survivors. All have escaped traumatic events only to tell similar stories of having experienced the presence of a companion and helper. The presence offered a sense of protection, relief, guidance, and hope, leaving the person convinced he or she was not alone. The most famous encounter, and one later received in verse by T.S. Eliot in his poem, The Wasteland, who is the third who walks always beside you, is that of the Irish explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton. Towards the end of the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition of 1914 through 1916, at the point where Shackleton and his two surviving crew faced almost certain death, he reported an unseen presence joining them. Their ship, Endurance, was icebound, and Shackleton and two others set off on foot to cross the treacherous ranges and glaciers of South Georgia to reach a whaling station. The march took 36 hours, and some years later, Shackleton confided to a journalist, "It seemed to me that we were 4, not 3. Although Shackleton said nothing to his companions at the time, the others later admitted they also experienced a sense that there was another person with us. Surely all 3 could not have imagined the same thing. Then, in the decades following Shackleton's mystical experience in South Georgia, there was a flurry of third-man reports. They occurred around the world under extreme but also very difficult conditions. Some, like Shackleton's, appeared to be corroborated by more than one witness. So why the sudden proliferation of third-man stories? One theory is that the nature of exploration itself altered at around this time. Instead of large ships carrying scores of men or vast columns of soldiers, explorers began to travel solo or in small groups. Henry Stoker, a submarine commander and distant relative of Dracula creator Bram Stoker's, wrote about how he and 2 others escaped from a Turkish prisoner of war camp and attempted to cross the 350 miles of rugged terrain to reach the coast, with neither maps nor compass and only meager rations of raisins and cocoa powder. Hungry, thirsty, footsore, and dispirited, Stoker became convinced a 4th man had joined them and found his presence deeply comforting. When he later discussed it with his colleagues, he realized they too had experienced the same thing. Guys, would you consider this? I know Heather whatever had mentioned it, so I'm going to ask all of y'all. Would you consider? Because I consider this more of. It sounds more of a guardian angel. Would you consider this third man syndrome kind of like your guardian angel, like someone there protecting you of, and it's an unseen being, but you know something's there? The phenomenon continues to this day. Peter Hillary, son of Edmund, experienced a strange presence during an expedition to the South Pole in November of 1998, retracing Scott's final Antarctic journey. In his case, Hillary knew the entity which appeared to him and guided him. It was his late mother, who had died in a car crash more than 20 years earlier. It was like she'd come out there to keep me company, he said. Guardian angel. In a similar vein, diver Stephanie Schwab escaped certain death when she heard the voice of her late husband and diving partner, Rob Palmer. Diving in an underwater cave off South Bahama Islands in August of 1997, Stephanie lost the guideline, which led back to the entrance and began to panic. Convinced she was going to die and still desperately missing her husband, she gave up on life. Then, at the height of her desperation and sadness, I suddenly felt flushed, and it seemed like my field of vision had become brighter. She believed the presence to be her dead husband and heard him mentally communicating with her, calming her down and instilling in her a belief that she would survive. Calmed by the presence, Stephanie discovered renewed resolve. This time, she slowly and methodically scanned the cave, and just as she saw the flash of a white line, the presence left her. Swimming immediately to the line, she followed it to the surface and emerged unscathed. For others, the third man is not nearly as personal or easy to identify, but it is no less efficient. Matthew goes, Mariska Haggerty is the daughter of Jane Mansfield. I believe Heather Whatever had said that as well. Chris goes, I've heard that Mariska was in the backseat of a car when it crashed and killed her mother. Ooh, wow. Dusty goes, I kind of recall something like this in a devastating story on a mystery channel. Dusty says, yes, a guardian angel. Joanne goes, it's often described as a guardian. That's what it sounds for me. I've never heard anybody say, oh, I had a third man syndrome experience. And thank you for gifting another 5 memberships. Hearts for Anne, and welcome Cindy, Peanuts, Nick, Jules to the Wolf Pack. Hearts and Heather Whatever. Hearts for Anne and all the new Wolf Pack members. And just a reminder, guys, if you're new to the membership, it is good for 1 month. Thank you, Anne, and welcome to all the Wolfpack members. Again, don't feel afraid if you're lurking to say hi. We do not bite. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Ron DeFrancesco was at his deck at Euro Brokers, a financial trading firm on the 84th floor of the South Tower of the World Trade Center, when the first plane hit the North Tower at 8:46 a.m. in what was to become the biggest ever terrorist atrocity in U.S. soil. DeFrancesco and his colleagues were initially told that there was no threat to their building and to remain at their desks. Fortunately, he had already started to vacate the building when the second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, slammed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., slicing into the tower between floors 77 and 85. The higher wing cut into the Euro broker's office. Because he had left the office, DeFrancesco was hurled against the wall and was showered with debris, but survived the devastating impact. The trading floor he had just left no longer existed. He made his way to an emergency stairwell and followed the advice of others gathered there, decided to ascend and wait for emergency services to rescue them from the roof. By the time he reached the 91st floor, the intensifying smoke caused him to panic, and he changed course, groping his way down the staircase. On the 79th floor, he fell to the concrete floor with a dozen others gasping for air. They were prevented from descending farther by a collapsed wall, and even through the fog of smoke, the panic was evident in their eyes. Some were crying, some slipped into unconsciousness, and then something remarkable happened. DeFrancesco heard a voice. Not one of the group addressed him by his first name. It told him to get up. The voice was insistent but encouraging and was accompanied by a vivid sense of physical presence. Somebody lifted me up. I was led to the stairs. I don't think somebody grabbed my hand, but I was definitely led. But the benevolent helper guided DeFrancesco down the stairs, insisting he walk through fires, which he did, covering his face, before continuing to make his way down. Almost an hour after the second plane hit, DeFrancesco reached the ground, but as he headed for an exit, the building began to collapse. He heard an ungodly roar, saw a fireball, and fell unconscious, later waking up in a hospital. Ron DeFrancesco was the last person out of the South Tower. A lot of people made split-second decisions that day that determined whether they lived or died. What is different about DeFrancesco is that at a critical moment, he received help from a seemingly external source. A deeply religious man, DeFrancesco is convinced he experienced divine intervention, that's kind of how I see it too. While some dismiss the sensation as hallucinations or the ramblings of a decayed mind, the sheer wealth of anecdotal evidence suggests otherwise. I don't think it's hallucinations or ramblings. I don't. Most instances occur in the absence of delirium, and if the sensations were a form of madness, why would they give such clear, concise instructions? For those who do not believe in guardian angels or God, that most likely explanation is one suggested by scientists in Switzerland. Matthew goes, that accident led to the law to where truck trailers have to have the low bar in the back. Dusty goes, our minds are capable of unimaginable things for our survival. True. Chris goes, I sometimes feel like my Aunt Debbie is my guardian angel. Cool. We probably have more than one guardian angel, to be honest with you, Chris. In a laboratory setting, they were able to evoke such a presence in a epileptic 22-year-old woman by electrically stimulating part of her brain. Every time they stimulated the left temporal parental junction, a part of the brain involved in organizing sensory information, the woman turned her head to the side, convinced there was someone there. When the electrical current was switched off, she turned her head back again, reporting that the sensation has ceased. This mechanism has been called a switch. Although people in everyday life are not electrically stimulated, scientists believe those under extreme physical stress at the limits of their endurance have access to the switch. Suddenly, they are aware of being in the presence of some ineffable good. Celebrated mountaineer Reinhold Messner said, I think it is quite natural. I think all human beings would have similar feelings if they expose themselves to such precarious situations. But whether the third man is a presence generated by a human mind in times of great stress or a heavenly guide sent from above, it is certainly real to those who experience it. Target has restocked. No, I'm just kidding. So, guys, what do you think? I just love ads, how they just blend in with the rest of the article sometimes. Heather, whatever goes, some scientists come to believe. I mean, I as I stated earlier, I've never heard of the third man syndrome. I always, but by reading the certain examples, I feel like it is divine intervention, as one of the as DeFrancisco said in the article, and I feel like it's just an art. It's a guardian angel. I feel like, but scientifically, they're saying that it's it's a response because you're in a fight or flight mode for survival, which it could be too. But I still feel like it's your guardian angel. I feel like it's someone there that's saying it's not your time. You got this. Let's go, type of thing. So I don't feel like I feel like the scientific part, it could be true too, but I'm more believable on the guardian angel side. What about you guys? Julissa goes, oh my goodness, my oldest daughter just walked in the front door. She came home from college and surprised me for Mother's Day. Wow, super cool, Julissa. Carol, how's it going? Pekka, what's up? That's cool, Julissa. That's like the best mother's gift. Mother's Day gift. And I know a lot of people it was Mexicans Mother's Day yesterday, I believe, on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Heather, whatever goes, that's a good. It is a good article. It is. It was written well. I don't like those ones where you want to know more and it doesn't give you all the information, but that gave you like a good gist. It gave you examples. It gave you what it was. And something. Now I know if someone talks about third man syndrome, I know what it's about. And I guess that show Law and Order SUV is what brought a spark of interest into it. So because they had mentioned it. Heather, whatever goes, happy Mother's Day to pet moms too. Exactly. They forget about the pet moms. Could be cat moms, dog moms, lizard moms, guinea pig moms, rat moms. Who cares? They're still a mother to the pet. And I think we forget about that during Mother's Day sometimes. All right, guys. You know me with the relationship with ghosts. I'm not sure if I shared this one, but this is a recent article, so maybe I haven't. It sounds real quick. It's an easy one, but Skeledeck is somewhere in this background. If you are new to the channel, and I'm pretty sure you can find him. He wanted to be present and say hello to everybody, but he looks just like that in the upper right hand corner here. So just remind me at the end of the stream, and I'll reveal his location, because sometimes I forget that he's back there. Chris goes, I used to give my mom a card from her dog. Oh, that is sweet. So I am not sure if I shared this one, but I found another one. And this time, because I'm fascinated by women that do this. Don't ask me why, because I couldn't fathom doing this myself. And I don't get how and where and when this ever happens. But there's women. Joanne goes, not the effing ghost again. There are women out there, if you're new to me or to my channel, there are women out there that have actually married ghosts, are dating ghosts. This one, and they admit it, and they've gone on talk shows to admit it, believe it or not. So I'm not sure if I shared this one because this one popped up. Soulmates. I'm in a relationship with a ghost from the Revolutionary War. We were married in a past life, but now we're polyamorous. I know I had mentioned about a woman, she was dating a ghost, but I think this is a different woman. And then she was in a relationship, so I'm not sure if this is the same couple. They took a picture together on a date at a museum where he pointed out the weapons he would carry during battle. Being ghosted is the key to romance for one woman and her paranormal paramour. She said her supernatural love story began when the spirit of a Welsh man in a red coat offered to walk her home one night. Like, was he visible or what? What did she was like, hello, kind sir, I don't think anybody could see you, but would you like to take me home? Beth, what's up? So this is Rebecca Carmichael, who is in a relationship with a 300-year-old, I believe. Would it say 300? I don't know, but I don't know if it's a 300, but she's in love with she's dating a Revolutionary War ghost. Years later, Rebecca Carmichael, 33, is still in a relationship with her ghost, but she started dating a living woman too. When the pandemic restrictions saw a temporary shutdown of theaters across the country, the performer and playwright decided to explore a different passion. She began to connect with the spiritual world, sharing her understanding of the other side with her social media followers. Nothing wrong with that. However, Rebecca's interaction with the paranormal began much earlier. Spiritual awakening. Funnily enough, my first experience that I can remember was actually being knocked over by a ghost, she told the U.S. Sun. I was maybe 3, and next thing I knew, I was pushed over, and then I was looking at the ceiling. She explained that the idea scared her younger self, so she decided to close it off. Growing up with a heavily religious presence, Rebecca didn't feel comfortable divulging her connection to the paranormal, which, I mean, it makes sense because some of those heavily religious families will dismiss the paranormal, or they may think, I don't know, they may think that you're working with the devil or something like that. I'm not sure, don't quote me. After moving to Wilmington, North Carolina in 2018, she was added to explore her abilities and opened herself up to the other side. Wilmington is known to be one of the most haunted cities in the United States, and many of the buildings are said to be occupied by spirits. Rebecca joked that if you lived in Southern City, then you'd probably got a roommate not paying rent. The city's paranormal history has proved popular with tourists, and Rebecca soon took on a job working as a ghost guide. A self-described history nut, the medium ability, she found the job to be a perfect fit. That would probably be a cool job for me. What are you talking about? Apparition of love. While giving a tour one night, she described how she felt a presence nearby but chose to ignore it. During her walk home, Rebecca felt as though someone was calling out to her. I looked around and I see the outline of a man, and at a time he looked really sickly, she recalled. I saw him wearing a red coat and he asked me if I had an escort to go home because it was like 10 p.m. and I was walking alone. How the F does a ghost know what time it is? I mean, I get that he probably saw that she was by herself and it was late, but Heather, whatever goes, good question. Exactly. Hesitant about the stranger, she tentatively agreed to allow him to escort her for 4 blocks, maybe 5. But I mean, it says in the article an outline of a man. So when you question that, if you saw an outline of a man asking you if he could walk you home, and he was wearing a red coat. Heather, whatever goes, time takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Shiloh Toto goes, things are really well, but very furry in my house. We now have a 5th dog, but they all cute as can be. The range from very big to very tiny. 4 of them are Aussies. One is a golden, but sizes vary. Oh, that's super cool, Shiloh Toto. But I mean, would you? I mean, I mean, if I saw an outline of a man, I'd be rubbing my eyes. I'd be like, okay, did I see what I just saw? And then I'll be like, okay, it's still there. It's now asking me to walk me home. All right, is it really there? Seriously, that's what I would do, because I would be like, I would think I'd be going a little crazy at first. I don't think I would have walked 5 blocks with him. That's me. But to each his own. Aware that he was a spirit, Rebecca said she was more thrown off by his quiet demeanor. She described the spirit as a pretty quiet guy and really awkward at first, but the pair quickly bonded. Later, research confirmed that Robert was a Welshman stationed in North Carolina during the Revolutionary War. He had been boarding with a family near Wilmington and had developed a close relationship with their daughter Mary, whom he eventually married. Blast from the past. After developing a friendship with Rebecca, Robert informed her that she had lived as his wife in a past life. He said he had spent the rest of his existence searching for Mary, returning to her family home repeatedly until he found it had burned down. Robert pointed out similarities between Rebecca and Mary, such as both women's habit of humming while walking. Robert, when he was alive, did not believe in ghosts. He explained that his soul had recognized hers and that he would wait to move on until Rebecca's time in this life ended. The pair enjoyed spending time together, going for walks and visiting coffee shops. So past life love. All right, I got that. I do believe in the past life thing. But they went on walks into the coffee shop. I mean, wouldn't you get a bunch of looks if you went into a coffee shop? You know what I mean? Chris Barber goes, too many edibles before the walk. Thank you, Pika. That is okay. I understand. Or Pekka, sorry. Heather, whatever goes, Starbucks employees run out the back. Exactly. They'll be like, we've got this crazy woman and she bought 2 coffees and she's drinking one of them, but the other coffee is in an unoccupied chair. We think she might be expecting someone, but she's been there for about an hour. And she's kind of talking to herself, so we don't know. They even went on a date to a war museum when Robert pointed out the weapons he would carry during battle. Alive and in love, things became slightly more complicated when Rebecca met Catherine. The pair began connecting online in 2020, bonding over their mutual love of the paranormal. Catherine, who also possesses psychic tendencies, produced content online, and the two decided to collaborate. Eventually, their friendship developed into something more, and Rebecca was glad to have someone who accepted not just her, but Robert too. Rebecca explained how she never had to alert Catherine of Robert's presence. I knew they were picking up on it, and it was so funny, she recalled. They have their own friendship. They talk about their own things. It's pretty cool. I remember that first conversation in person because I said, wow, you have a knack for picking up on spirits. I didn't tell you that he was standing right there. Funny enough, it wasn't Catherine who was skeptical of Robert's existence, but the ghost himself. Robert, when he was alive, did not believe in ghosts, Rebecca explained. He was not superstitious. He was not into all of this, and so he really wanted proof that he existed. Both Rebecca and Catherine worked to help the former soldier with his existential crisis. Nerd Report! Thank you for being a member of the Wolf Pack for 13 months. Says, let's start a super chat train. Hearts for Nerd Report, guys. Thank you, Nerd Report. So now she is in a relationship with Catherine, who also says that she has some psychic ability, and she's friends and cool with Catherine or Rebecca having a relationship with this revolutionary ghost. Mystical non-monogamy. Rebecca recalled how the experience helped her to Nerd Report. Thank you for the super chat. Hearts for Nerd Report. Say, let's go. He's starting the super chat train. Choo choo. Hearts for Nerd Report, guys. Rebecca recalled how the experience helped her two partners bond. They connected then, and things just progressed from there, she said. I'm grateful that Catherine can connect the way they can because it's not like I have to play medium so the two of them can have a conversation. While she said Robert and Catherine don't spend time alone together too often, the two have their own connection. The other day, the two of them wanted to catch up on something while running errands, so they had a touch-and-go conversation. Rebecca said, they have their own friendship. They talk about their own things. It's pretty cool. Not everyone is so accepting of Robert's existence, but as Rebecca pointed out, she isn't here to prove her relationship to anyone. Heather Whatever, thank you for your super chat. I'm broke, but you're great too. Lisa, thank you, Heather Whatever. Hearts for Heather Whatever. Thank you, Nerd Report, for your super sticker. Hearts for Nerd Report as well. Thank you, Heather Whatever and Nerd Report. She continues to post her adventures on her social media platforms while she says Robert is learning more about modern life each day. He was very excited about indoor plumbing. All right. How do you feel about Rebecca and Catherine and Robert and their dates to the War Museum? I don't know about these women. I really don't. I get having a psychic ability or whatnot. I get it. But dating a ghost, I just still don't get it. Makes no sense. Joanne goes, if she's trying to prove it, then why is she talking about it? Exactly. If she's trying not to prove it, why is she talking about True. I mean, if she didn't want anybody knowing about it, she would not say anything. But these women go on to thank you, Pekka. But these women go on talk shows and post their marriages on Instagram, and when they get a divorce, they talk to these news outlets and go, "Yes, I divorced him. He cheated on me with Marilyn Monroe," like one of them. So, Daniel, what's up? He goes, "Are we doing Ghost in the Nude?" Yes, we are, Daniel. Dusty goes, "Crazy is as crazy does." I agree. As I always say, the only thing I could think of is that these women want attention and they just like the attention. One of them said, the one that married a ghost and was cheated, her ghost husband cheated on Marilyn Monroe. She was an artist. This with Rebecca and Robert, her girl is she has her own like social media following. So that's the only thing I think of why they're doing it, is so they could get the following, the notoriety, the attention. Other than that, if I was dating a ghost, I wouldn't admit it. I would not. And then there's also, these people that say they have sex with ghosts too. That's another rabbit hole. Heather, whatever goes, free advertising. Exactly, because I mean, they're going on like The Sun or like these well-known, tabloid sites, you'd say, where people like to read and it's shocking too. So it's going to grab people's attention. So that is the only reason why I think is because they want the advertising, as Heather whatever says, free advertising to get their name out, to get their brand out, to get that attention. Joanne goes, "I think the women marrying the doll more crazy." Oh, we forgot about that one. There's a woman that married a doll and she has doll children. There's also, I think there's a man that did too. And she's in the hospital giving birth to these doll children. So I'm like, I do not understand these women. I really do not. That woman with the dolls, though, I don't see anything to where she has her own brand or business or anything. Maybe she just wants the social media following, and the attention. I don't know. I really do not know. Pekka goes, "And who marry?" Yeah, there's people that marry animals or inanimate objects too, as well. I've seen a program where someone married a boat or a bed or whatever it may be. It's crazy. I just don't understand it. Heather whatever goes, "Don't marry a canine thinking it's the ghost of a panda." It is crazy. I just don't understand these women. I just don't, but I'm gonna still talk about them because I find them interesting at the same time. Dusty goes, "She was in the mental ward when she gave birth." Yeah. And then there's another one where they actually there was another woman, but they actually gave a name. I forgot what the name was to what the condition she was suffering from, and she was in a relationship with like 3 dolls, and her therapist was cool with it. So Beth goes talking about looking for love in all the wrong places. Exactly. Like what? Like what the hell? I don't get it. How can you like fall in love with something that you can't see or touch or hear? Or I mean, I guess in Rebecca's case you could hear, because she said she claimed she had psychic abilities, but I mean, I'm not dismissing that people don't have psychic abilities, but still though, I don't get how you could have a relationship with something that's and then claiming that the ghost had said that they were married in a past life, which I don't dismiss past lives. I don't. I do believe in that. I do believe that there's some people that have had past lives, but this, I don't know. And Heather whatever makes a point. They're cold too. So Joanne goes, was her therapist a doll? Pekka goes, I see a woman riding a horse upside down and burying him. Well, yes, there's people that do that, and I just don't understand it. I just don't. Heather whatever goes, I think that was a cheesy pickup line so he didn't have to bury her. But I'm like, these women are crazy. All right, to get into a little movie news here, because I had spoke about creepy places in Maine in my previous stream. I found this cool article about Stephen King. I know some of you are Stephen King fans. And he gives us his 10 recent horror movies Stephen King praises, and this is on MovieWeb. If Stephen King says it's good, then it must be. These are the recent horror movies that the king of horror books have praised. And I'm not going to go by if he thinks it's good, that it's going to be good. I'll still check it out anyways. But I thought this was kind of cool. The fact that one of the best-selling authors of all time, Stephen King, is a horror novelist can't be coincidence. People love his work, the adaptations of his work, and everything that stems from everything he's done. He's the most important author in horror popular culture because his work encompasses the very definition of American culture and how it's progressed throughout history. Of course, always in fictional and horror terms. Naturally, King's relationship with cinema is pretty close. You don't even have to stay within the limited boundaries of his adaptations because the man seems to be a fan of just about every genre out there. You could go to his Twix account and witness his statement about every film or TV show he watches. And yes, horror is a huge part of this catalog. Considering how important his tweets are for exposing films that deserve a look, we decide to compile the recent horror movies that Stephen King has praised. Pekka goes, Stephen King and his 200 books made of a movie. Beth Bearclaw goes, I've read a few Stephen King books. I've read one of his books, and it wasn't even it was like an offshoot kind of book. It wasn't like his normal huge novels that look like, this thick type of novels, but which I do have some of them. But I forgot the name of it, but it was really good and I did enjoy it. And it wasn't really about horror. It was more suspenseful. Heather whatever goes, I got mad at Stephen King because he always seems to put kids or animals at risk. I know sounds dumb. Chris goes, I used to devour his books, but after his accidents, his writing changed. Beth goes, he does cameos in his movies too. Yes. Carol goes, I read almost all of them. So here is his picks. Number 10 is Late Night with the Devil. I was able to see this film, and I thought it was kind of, I'll give you my review of it. It is on Shudder. It is different. It's about, I know a few of you probably heard me talk about it in a previous stream, but it's kind of like it's like a Johnny Carson type show. David Dashmalchian, he is the host. His character is the host of this late night show, and they are trying to get views and ratings. And this particular show was on Halloween, so he brings in the creep factor, like the spooky factor. It is a slow burn for me. It was, but it was shot beautifully. It's a very interesting story, something different. Caught my attention throughout, so I even recommend this film. In Late Night with the Devil, the producers of a show called Night Owls with Jack Delroy decide they need to boost their ratings if they want to compete against the far superior show led by Johnny Carson. Well, I used him as an example. The host, Jack Delroy, has been going through something rough. He recently lost his wife to cancer. Deciding he will use his show as a platform to deal with the grief, Jack decides to go along with the producer's latest idea, a Halloween-themed live episode in which they will feature an allegedly possessed girl. Late Night with the Devil is absolutely brilliant. Late Night with the Devil has been everyone's mouth recently for good and bad reasons. When the directors admitted the use of AI in the film, the movie suffered the consequences. However, this shouldn't be a reason for not enjoying. I didn't even know they used AI in the film, to be honest with you. I didn't even notice. This shouldn't be a reason for not enjoying what is generally good original horror. Stephen King claimed in a tweet that it's absolutely brilliant. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. Same here. Your results may vary, as they say, but I urge you to watch it when you can. You can stream Late Night with the Devil on Shudders. If you guys have Shudder, I do recommend it. It's something to put on your watch list. Number 9, Barbarian. I saw this one too. I did like this film. I have a little short on there of me reviewing it. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's all I'm going to say. Zach Kreger's Barbarian follows Tess Marshall, a woman who arrives in Detroit late at night for an interview she will have the next day. She's only available to find a rental home in a shady part of town. The problem is that someone else also booked it, a man by the name of Keith Toshko. He invites her in, and after thinking about it, she decides to give it a try and not pay attention to the red flags. As it turns out, Keith is actually a kind dude who even makes her some tea and with whom she makes a connection. The very next day, the interview goes great, and when Tess comes back to the house to pick up her stuff, she realizes Keith has found a door in the basement, a door that leads into the improbable. Stephen King says Barbarian is crazy good. The film's remarkable narrative shifts is only one of several reasons why Barbarian is one of the best horror films of 2022. It's very scary, very well acted, and features body horror like you haven't seen in modern horror. Considering it was Kreger's solo writing and directorial debut, we can't help but praise the film for being so original when delivering its premise. Stephen King was also vocal on Twix about the film. Yay! Yeah, that movie blew me away. It was crazy, crazy good. And it starts off with Bill Skarsgård, and whenever I see Bill Skarsgård, I know something's going to be creepy, because he looks creepy. Bill Skarsgård, I don't know, just like even looking normal. I always know there's a creep factor to him. Like he's creepy looking. I don't know. Like I don't trust him with any character he plays. But I mean, in John Wick, the latest John Wick, he played a bad guy. So I mean, he wasn't creepy in that one. But X, to be honest with you, this is a Ty West film. I prefer Pearl over X, if you guys are familiar with Ty West. Also, Maxine is coming out sometime. I think it's this year. And I cannot wait for Maxine. But to be honest with you, I like Pearl over X. X is good too, but I prefer Pearl. Ty West's X, part of the trilogy with Pearl and the upcoming Maxine, tells the story of an adult film crew who decides to go on the road to find locations to shoot their latest film. The year is 1979, and the crew arrives at a farm where an elderly couple allows them to do whatever they want in the guest house they rented. The problem is that the old lady, Pearl, doesn't exactly agree with the kind of movie they're making and also aims at getting love for herself. She turns into a homicidal maniac, and Maxine, the film star, decides to fight back. Stephen King calls X an extremely good horror movie. Part horror, part original horror, and part homage. X was a well-written horror film that also gave everyone something to talk about in 2022. Starring Mia Goth in one of the best roles, X proved rules are actually just a suggestion in the world of horror, and it was successful enough for A24 to start a whole franchise. Stephen King was very clear when tweeting about the film X is an extremely good horror movie, scary, smart, knowing, and entertaining. Daniel goes, oh, I love Clive Barker. Daniel goes, as of 8 years ago, we have every Stephen King book. I have a few of his books, but I mostly have like the ones that were made into movies. Because to be honest with you, I wasn't a huge Stephen King fan. I was never a huge Stephen King fan, which is weird, but he did, like when I was talking about earlier, he did write this book that I did like, but it wasn't his typical horror novel. No One Will Save You, which I think was on Hulu. This one is really good too if you guys have not seen this. It's like an alien. If you like alien movies, this would be for you. And No One Will Save You by writer-director Brian Duffield Brim. And I actually saw this without, I think I didn't see the trailer or anything. I just was like, oh, let's watch this. Is a young woman living by herself in a remote area near her hometown. For some reason, she's been completely excommunicated by her community. But things change when one night Bryn realizes there's an alien invasion taking place. Able to kill one of the creatures, Bryn decided she will try to seek help, but it may turn out to be too late as the little green men have found a way into town. No One Will Save You is truly unique. It is. I agree. It's a fun movie. No One Will Save You was a very nice direct-to-streaming surprise that made many heads turn when it presented people with the idea of a sci-fi horror film with only 5 spoken words throughout the entire film. Caitlin Dever, the film star playing Bryn, is marvelous in the film. Stephen King was pretty vocal about the movie on his social media account. No One Will Save You. Brilliant, daring, involving, scary. You have to go back over 60 years to a Twilight Zone episode called The Invaders to find anything remotely like it. It's truly unique. Heather Wetter goes, I have John Grisham books. Not scary, just suspenseful. Evil Dead Rise and Evil Dead Rise sisters reunite in an apartment building in Los Angeles. Beth finds out she's pregnant and she seeks support from Ellie, who lives with her kids in a rundown apartment complex. After an earthquake gives them access to a underground chamber, Danny plays one of the records, and I believe Lewis and I on my channel has a review of this film. Danny plays one of the I need to start reviewing some films again. Danny plays one of the records he finds and unleashes demons in the apartment. Ellie becomes the first to be possessed and goes on a rampage to basically murder and possess everybody. Stephen King says Evil Dead Rise is gruesome and bloody. Evil Dead Rise was one of the films of 2023 that gave everyone something to talk about in horror circles. It managed to stay close to Fede Alvarez's remake of 2013 and brought back faith into the franchise of Deadites created by Sam Raimi. To call it a gory film is simple understatement. Stephen King seems to have loved the film as well. Per his tweet, while I'm on busy promoting How About Evil Dead Rise, it's gruesome, it's bloody, it's even got an elevator vomiting blood, not to mention chainsaw foo. Thank you, Pekka, for dropping by. I appreciate it. I know you're a different time zone, so I do really appreciate you sticking around and chatting for a bit. And I hope you can get some rest because we all need rest. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The Autopsy of Jane Doe, a paramorticians. I saw this film. I don't remember it. It's been a while. I have to rewatch it. In the Autopsy of Jane Doe, a pair of morticians who are also father and son are commissioned to perform an autopsy on a body found at a crime scene. The woman was found buried in the basement. There are no visible scars on her, and everyone else in the house was brutally killed. The Teldens decide to solve the murder by opening her up, but after experiencing some strange phenomenon, they realize this is not an ordinary corpse, and some questions are better left unanswered. Stephen King says to watch it, but not alone. A great I watched it alone and I was fine. What are you talking about, Stephen King? A great film about witches. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is also one of the scariest movies experience you can have today with a modern horror film. It's also cleverly written and featured two perfect leads with very interesting performance. Brian Cox, Emily Hirsch. Stephen King says the following about the film: The Autopsy of Jane Doe, visceral horror to rival Alien and early Cronenberg. Watch it, but not alone. You could stream The Autopsy of Jane Doe on Netflix for any of you guys who want to check it out. I do remember that one. I do know that I liked it, but I need to revisit it. I don't remember. I know I don't remember it enough to actually go like, oh yeah, this was this. I do know I did enjoy it though. The Witch. The Witch is a I feel like The Witch was more of a psychological, like I call these type of films like a mind F. It's more of a psychological kind of film to me, than like scary. The only thing that I liked out of this movie was Black Phillip, and I have different variations of Black Phillip in Funko. If you guys are familiar with it. The Witch takes us to the 1600 in New England when English settlers had the library to settle themselves everywhere. William and his family have been excommunicated from the village, and the family is forced to settle in the middle of the forest. Their new home is plagued with spooky phenomenon, and this especially affects the teenager, Thomasin. Her parents, who are extremely religious, take the events as a sign of moral corruption, and Thomasin witnesses her family's descent into a spiral while she also finds her true self. Stephen King calls The Witch tense and thought-provoking as well as visceral. Robert Eggers' masterful exercise of horror is a daunting exploration of religion in the folklore version of America. The Witch is religious horror in its best expression, seen through the eyes of one of modern horror's signature exhibitors, considering King's direct relationship with showing the true side of American culture since its conception. He couldn't have said it better. The Witch scared the hell out of me, and it's a real movie, tense and thought-provoking as well as visceral. It didn't scare me. It was more of a what the hell is going on movie for me. Daniel read in high school the the Lemurs. I remember in I want to say junior high school, one of my teachers let us watch the Tommy Knockers. I don't know what class it was, but we were able to watch the Tommy Knockers. Crimson Peak, I did not see this one. In Crimson Peak, Edith Cushing is a successful author who also quite lonely. The time is the early 1900s in New York, and Edith is the bachelorette everyone wants to conquer. Sir Thomas Sharp instantly draws her attention, but Edith's father sees his true intentions. He's desperate for money. After her father is murdered, Edith is asked by Thomas to marry him, and so they move to their mansion, where Thomas's sister, Lucille, also lives. It doesn't take long for Edith to start seeing ghosts in the hallway, and they hold the truth about the Sharps. Stephen King says Crimson Peak is gorgeous and terrifying. Guillermo del Toro's gothic horror masterpiece is one of the most underrated films to come in the past decade. Crimson Peak is beautiful and classy exploration of the genre led by the great performers and featuring state-of-the-art special effects and great cinematography and score. We don't see how it could affect the master of horror himself, Stephen King. Per his tweet, I was treated to a screening of Guillermo del Toro's new movie Crimson Peak this weekend. Gorgeous and just effing terrifying. I like, whenever I think of Guillermo del Toro, I think of Pan's Labyrinth, because I love Pan's Labyrinth. It is Pan's Labyrinth. It's in Spanish, so you have to be in the mood for subtitles, but it's worth reading the subtitles. Heather Whatever goes, I remember that. I read lots of things from the library. My parents didn't know I could pick what I wanted in cold blood, etc. Matthew goes, nice. It was a TV miniseries, so they might have saw it as not a big deal. Daniel goes, my class showed us Hardware Wars, a Star Wars spoof. That sounds actually kind of cool. The Black Phone, I was super impressed with this. I had very I don't know. I just had low expectations for this film. I think it's a Blumhouse film. Don't get me wrong, but some of the Blumhouse films, after the disappointment with Halloween ends, I kind of take Blumhouse with the. I kind of have low expectations, but this one really impressed me. I did like this film. In fact, I want to get a Funko Pop of it. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. Robert Cargill and Scott Dickerson's adapt a script based on Joe Hill's story. There's a typo. The Black Phone, Ethan Hawke stars as a child killer whose latent abductee is receiving calls from dead victims. In the late 1970s, Denver is being terrorized by a child abductor called the Grabber. Finney and Gwen are normal siblings who occasionally suffer the abuse of their violent father. One day, Finney falls into the hands of the kidnapper, and he's locked in the basement of a home where no one can hear him. The monster usually shows up wearing creepy masks and taunting the boy to try to escape. What he doesn't know is that Finney's getting some help from the other side. A black phone hangs from the wall, and ghosts from the dead children are able to help Finney. Third man syndrome. No, I don't consider that third man syndrome. I call that it was more like ghosts trying, because of how they had passed, they are telling the boy so that they can rest, type of thing. That's how I took it. Stephen King calls the Black Phone Stand By Me in Hell. The pretty intense film The Black Phone is based on a short story by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, who followed his father's line of work and also becomes a successful author. And yes, the film has Stephen King's like Phil, that's hard to miss. The way the characters are built and how paranormal is part of the film's background is a great example of what King has done in the past. Apparently, Hills showed an early version of the film to his dad, who said, "It's Stand By Me in Hell. That's enough to a review." Malignant. I'll do one more. Oh, this is the last one. Okay, I was gonna say I'll do one more. Malignant. Lewis loves this film. Actually, I like this film too. I figured out. I'm not going to give it away if you haven't seen it, but I figured I love films like this where it makes you think. It makes you think, and I love films like this. And it is kind of terrifying too at the same time. It is by James Wan, and he does the Conjuring universe. I'm not a big fan of the Conjuring universe because of those jump scares. Known for the Conjuring universe, but this film is not like those. I do recommend it. In Malignant, Madison suffers an attack from her abusive boyfriend. During the attack, she suffers a miscarriage, but her boyfriend's actually suffered a brutal death. She doesn't know exactly how it all happened, but as she's grieving, she starts having very realistic visions of murder. The problem is that the murders begin taking place in real life, and Madison suspects she may have something to do with them. And when she finds out, it's campy horror heaven for everyone. Stephen King thinks Malignant is brilliant. James Wan's last horror film, Malignant, is an outstanding example of original horror that complies with every rule in the book of slasher films that don't exactly need to be respectable. It's campy, wild, and extremely violent, and Stephen King had a great time with it. I watched Malignant on HBO and thought it was brilliant. For a film like Malignant to be called brilliant is proof that Stephen King's opinion of horror movies, it's not a matter of logic or looking good. It's about being effective and satisfying your target audience. So what did you think of Stephen King's picks, and have you seen any of them? I've seen all of them except Crimson Peak. Oh my God, Daniel Miles, I love Spaceballs. They cannot make a film like that nowadays. I love that film. They cannot make that now. If they made that now, oh my God, the film would be shut down before it even made it to theaters. Chris goes, I don't care for the Conjuring movies for the most part because the true story has been so embellished. I agree. I agree with you. That one, my more with those is like with the Nun and the Conjuring and all that. I don't care for the jump scares. I like jump scares, but not the way that film franchise does it. I like the subtle ones. I don't like the ones where they go brrr, like the loud music and then the person jumping out of nowhere and like in your face type of thing. I don't like that. I like the subtle ones. I like the person standing here and you could see the creature crawling behind them, or you could see the shadow in the background but the person doesn't see it. That type of thing I like. I don't, or something happens where you don't expect it type of thing. Because I've seen enough horror movies, I kind of don't fall for the jump scares. But there's every once in a while I do, is because I was like, I wasn't expecting that. Daniel goes, you like show? I do like showing you jump scares. I do. I haven't done that in a while, but I don't have any plan for tonight. But stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. Oh, I don't know if you guys are fans. While I'm talking about movies real quick, if you guys are fans of the fan of 28 weeks later and 28 days later, they are coming out with a 28 years later. I became a zombie fan when I saw that film, so I'm super excited about that. They said in the summer of 2025. So it's quite a ways away. But I am looking forward to that. And so what article should I do next? I think I'll go with this one. Because we're going to keep up with the Maine theme. The state of Maine. Because we all know Maine is creepy. Stephen King likes to set his stories in Maine. This place is no different. Joey List is asking, what is my favorite horror movie? I have a lot of them, believe it or not. I do. My favorite one, I love slashers. I love slashers. I cannot wait. There is a slasher coming out. I forgot, they just released a new trailer for it, but I cannot wait for that one, and I forgot the name of it already. But I do like my favorite slasher is Friday the 13th, but I do like Halloween. Love Hellraiser. I know a lot of people don't like Hellraiser, but I love Hellraiser. I love Pinhead and the Cenobites. And the box, the lament configuration. Didn't care for the Hulu one too much, but I love Doug Bradley as Pinhead. He is, no one can replace him. I don't care what anybody says. I do like The Omen, like the Omen. I grew up with Poltergeist. I grew up with there's so many. Joey List goes, Halloween by far is my favorite. I do like Halloween. I do. I love slashers. So that's like my subgenre, my favorite, subgenre, I guess you could call of horror is slasher films. Amityville. I love Amityville. The Gate. I know I grew up watching The Gate. That's probably one of my favorites too. You've been very bad. And then the hands coming up underneath the doors. Whenever a cat does that, I think of The Gate. I can't think of any others right now, but there's so many. Daniel goes, so many good movies, hard to, it is. There's so many. I cannot pick one, but I do like the older horror films, like from the 80s and 90s. They do not make them like that anymore. I like the practical effects over CGI any day. Even Fright Night. Fright Night is a good one too. I love practical. They do not make it Child's Play. They do not make them like that anymore. Joey goes, how do you feel about Nightmare on Elm Street? The one thing about Nightmare on Elm Street was when I was a kid, it would freak me out because it was the one thing, like Jason and Michael, um, you could see them. I guess you could say like kind of like that, but with Freddy, he would get you in your dreams. And that's where it would always freak me out. I wasn't like a huge fan of, Nightmare on Elm Street, but I do like Nightmare on Elm Street. I did like Freddy Krueger, but it would freak me out. And this is when I was old. I was like in probably like 6th grade and it still freaked me out. Because of how he could get you in your dreams. And that was where that's the freaky part about it, and that's what I liked about it, is the fact that he could get you in your dreams, and he wasn't just like a person wearing a mask walking through the Camp Crystal Lake, or Michael walking through Haddonfield or whatever it may be. He came in your dreams and you never knew when he was going to come. Daniel goes, does Poltergeist really fall under horror? It does. It does. It's a different type of horror, though. The second Poltergeist, though, with that preacher, whew. Tyranna goes, the hills have eyes. That's a good one, too. Carl goes, nah, Night of the Living Dead, the black and white version. I did not get into the zombies, though, until 28. I think I saw 28 weeks later first. I saw one of them. I saw the second one first before I saw the first one. And that's when I became a fan of zombies. And I know Night of the Living Dead is a classic, but I didn't get into zombies until after that. Shaun of the Dead's hilarious, Daniel. All right, guys, I'm going to go through one more article and I'll open it up for questions. We can continue the movie talk. This is Eerie ghost photos, toys found in wall of Maine haunted house homeowner. Jeffrey McGuire and his family moved to Holton, Maine in 2017 and revealed the unexplained creepy happenings inside the house. Eerie photos of ghosts, family portraits, and children's toys and notebooks with their schoolwork, among other personal items, were found in the walls of an 1800 Victorian home when the McGuire family moved to Maine in 2017. That is creepy. Then came the unexplained noises, cold taps on the shoulder, footsteps in the attic, and things inexplicably moving around. Homeowner Jeffrey McGuire told Fox News Digital. The locals in Holton, Maine told McGuire and his wife that their new home was always known as the haunted house, he said. One woman told them she used to see children in the window. My wife saw a woman standing in the window, and then there were other times she saw a man's face or a boy's face, McGuire said. We heard footsteps and loud things above us. Voices called my wife's name. We woke up in the morning and lights would be on. Cabinets were open and things were knocked over. My wife had heard tapping coming from the basement. So I believe Jeffrey McGuire's wife took this photo, and they claim that there's a ghost in the window. And this is the zoomed in portion of it. Even before the McGuire family settled into their new home, one of their contractors who found all the personal belongings and pictures in the wall during renovations was freaked out, he said. We hired a group of contractors to work on a house, and one of them started saying things like they felt something cold touch him on the shoulder, McGuire said. Our old contractor was afraid to work in the house alone. However, the renovations continued. The attic and second floor were gutted and stripped down to the studs, McGuire said. The allure of the 12-room 1887 home's beauty and its proximity to the Canadian border seduced the family, and they stayed despite the ominous signs and shadowy roommates. They even called Reverend Terrence McGillicuddy to perform a Christian cleansing of their home in the summer of 2019. So these are pictures, or this is a picture that they found in the house. And this is a picture taken by one of the contractors working on the house. In my years in service to others, I've only received requests like this once before, Reverend McKilligutty told WGME 13 in 2019. It was also from a Holton family, and they wanted help with the same thing. They wanted their house spiritually cleaned because they were troubled or frightened by something that was going on there. McGuire said they felt a particularly strong presence and overwhelming sadness that they didn't know how else to describe in two particular rooms. One was upstairs and one was downstairs, said McGuire, who added that the upstairs room was used like a funeral parlor where they laid the dead to rest, and the room downstairs was the birthing room, which was also used when people were ill. Charles and Mary Nickerson lived at the house at the time with their 15-year-old daughter, Clara Ruth Nickerson, according to 1940 census records that were cited by the local 2019 news report. McGuire said his wife still tells him she hears what sounds like the pitter-patter of children's footsteps upstairs, but the unexplained spookiness has significantly slowed down since McKilligutty's cleansing in 2019. The scariest, ghastly run-in came before the cleansing involved his wife's pet birds, McGuire said. They put the birds in a sunroom before they moved in, and a few days later, some of the canaries had sores all over their bodies, which was bizarre, McGuire said. We never figured out what that was, and some of the birds died, and that's what really prompted us to call McKilligutty, because we didn't understand what was going on in her house. They spoke to the previous owner, and kids said she kind of clamped up, McGuire said. You know, it wasn't something she really wanted to talk about, he said. The kids told us that they thought that if it was haunted, it was definitely on the second floor. Fast forward to 2022 and 2023, when the McGuires set up cameras around their home, even though the uneasy, unexplained phenomena had slowed. However, they still hear noises or see things that they cannot explain. I was never a believer in the supernatural. I've always been a skeptic to those things, McGuire says. But after moving into our house, I definitely believe in ghosts. I do not have any doubts that they exist. The cool thing about that, and I didn't even put the article up, duh. But anyways, sorry about that, guys. You were seeing my mug as I was reading it again. Well, anyways, the one thing usually when people move into a house like this is they here are some of the photos that they found in the house, since I didn't have the article up. You were seeing my mug. I love when I do that. Apparently this picture was the contractor had taken this picture. Some more pictures that they found in the walls of the house, which is weird that they found these in the walls of the house. This is a zoomed in picture of his wife had taken this photo. But I mean, at least they don't want to move out. That's a good thing. I guess it's not that bad. Heather, whatever goes, looks short like people were back then. Carl goes, dude, as long as it's a true story, it's a possibility that it can happen to you. That's what makes it scary. All right, guys, I'm going to open it up to questions. That article was kind of cool. You got to see my mug throughout the whole thing, so hey, why not? I love when I do that. But that's kind of weird. What would you do if you found photos like that in the walls of your house and old toys? They found old toys too. That's crazy. It's super cool though. I mean, at least it's not enough to where they want to move out, so, which is kind of cool because that seems like a pretty cool home to live in. Heather, whatever goes, yay, the Lisa mug. You need your mug on a mug. I do have my mug on a mug. I have it over here somewhere. I mean, I think it would be pretty cool to find photos in a house and old toys. Um, and I wouldn't mind living there. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's stressful or anything or something malevolent. Heather, whatever goes, I have an online friend who has a ghost at their house. Cool. Super cool. Dusty goes, makes me wonder what's under the floors exactly. Carl goes, that filing cabinet's old. Technically, you're not supposed to see the filing cabinet. I should have been like over here. There you go. Carl, that filing cabinet's old. It's suiting the purpose of for my things right now. Other than that, I'd get rid of it. Trust me. Daniel goes, a giant Monopoly board under the floorboards. Or I mean, it was used as a funeral, and then a birthing. One of the floors was like a birthing floor, and then one of the floors was for funerals and for people that were sick. Carl, that's how I got it, or I inherited it that way, I should say. The file cabinet. That's what they always say. You have to pay attention to what's behind you, and I didn't this time. Usually I don't have the cabinet in display, but that's all right. Heather, whatever goes. I went to a little house today where I rented with my son and best friend who I found out passed. It was a dump, but a safe kind of place. Ever grateful and surprised it's still there. She was a good lady. Oh, wow. Sorry for your loss though, Heather, whatever. That kind of sucks. All right, guys, keep the questions going. Could be horror related, could be criticisms, could be about the beaten up file cabinet behind me. Carl goes, is that Lewis behind you? The skull? Carl! No! That's weird. I'm usually like, oh, you know why? It's because the camera. I usually have the camera like that. The camera moved. My camera has a mind of its own. Heather, whatever goes, Lewis is the green one by the microphone. Daniel Muzz, real quick. Skeleduck was in an easy. Daniel, thank you for reminding me. Skeleduck is in an easy position. He is basically right there where my finger is. He is on top of my They Live alien Funko Pop, but you can't tell what it is because the handlebars of my exercise bike is in the way. But he is right there where my finger is. Carl goes, it's the ghosts or the spirits that moved the camera. You never know, Carl. You never know. Daniel goes, she said easy position. Usually she has him face down or ass up. It's true. Carl goes, does the other skull have a blonde wig? No, it doesn't. They're both hairless. I gotta organize my back a little bit. It's kind of gotten decluttered. There's a way I could cover the file cabinet. I could put like how I have my Ouija board drape. I could do something like that for that. I didn't realize it was that beaten up until Carl pointed it out. Oh well. Dusty goes, you need to move that exercise bike out where you could see it. I know, I should. Or push the cabinet forward. I could do that too. I should push the cabinet forward a little bit. And there's also and the one underneath it that you can't see, that's right next to the skull, that's a Funko Pop of me in a skeleton outfit. Because I like skeletons, but you can't see it from here. Daniel goes, I like the patch in the back with the D in the middle. That's for a Volkswagen Bug. And I just put it back there. He is talking about that. They stick them on the bumpers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Daniel goes, my birthday year. No wonder you like it, Daniel. That's cool. They had some of the coolest cars that year, too. All right, guys, keep the questions coming. Criticisms, complaints. Daniel goes, yes, the 31st of May, I'll be older. Well, happy early birthday, Daniel. Any crazy movies any of y'all seen? I haven't watched any crazy movies. I've just pretty much been watching Ghost Adventures, of course, The House Calls, and then Ghost Adventures new season starts next Wednesday, I think it is. But I'm gonna be out of town, but I'm gonna see if I can try to watch it. And then I've been pretty much just watching kind of true crime stuff. I've been watching the Evil Lives Here, which is on Max. It's a story about people whose like loved one ends up being like a murderer or criminal or done something to them, and it's kind of interesting. And it talks about different like the last or the one I'm currently watching, it's a son talking about his dad who happened to be like a he killed people or something like that, and he's talking about his dad and how his dad killed his mom and stuff like that. It's kind of an interesting show if you guys want to check it out. Dusty goes, my son, who is also Daniel, his birthday is May 29th. Oh, that is cool. Chris goes, I've been trying to watch new movies, but I keep falling asleep. That happens to me too, Chris, because sometimes when you just lay down, you get comfortable, and you start watching the movie, and you fall asleep, and I would feel like I tried. Daniel goes, just crazy DJ mixing here. Carl goes, holy shit, is that a Ouija board table cover to your right? Yes, it is. It is covering a TV. Daniel goes, I'm a Memorial baby, a Gemini. I do have a twin. Oh, cool. Carl goes, name your top 5 horror movies of all time. Oh my god. I can't pick just 5, Carl. I can't. I'd have to say The Omen is one. Hellraiser, Friday the 13th. I have to put The Gate in there because I grew up with it. It's sentimental to me. I grew up watching The Gate. And it's one I'll watch over and over again. And I like all horror movies, so it's hard for me to pick. I would say Halloween. Daniel goes, say Lisa Goonies. Actually, I like Goonies, but Heather Winter goes, them the giant ants. Oh yeah, them. They live is good too. There's so many. I can't just pick one. Carl goes Halloween. Duh, that's a given. I can't just pick one. I like them all, especially like the earlier films. I like the earlier films, like the 70s, 80s, 90s. And like I was saying earlier, they do not make movies like that, like that anymore. I like the practical effects over the CGI any day. Carl goes, I think Ghostbusters is categorized as a horror movie. I think it is too. I like Ghostbusters. See, there's so many. I can't remember them all. I grew up with Ghostbusters, so I like. I know Frozen Empire is supposed to be coming out soon to digital. I think I read somewhere, and then I know Abigail. You guys, it's already. It just literally came out a month ago in theaters. It's going to be on digital. It's a little vampire film. I have not yet seen it yet, but when it does come on streaming, I do want to check it out. Oh my God, Daniel, the Blob. I grew up watching that too. See, there's too many. Heather, whatever goes. The Crawling Eye. I don't think I've ever seen that one. Oh my God, the Blob was the one when I was a kid I used to talk about all the time. Oh, I forgot about that one. Matthew goes, Frozen Empire is already out on digital. Okay. Scratch that. Frozen Empire is already out on digital. I just kind of skimmed through the article when I saw it, so I didn't see like the dates or anything. Thank you, Heather, whatever, for your PayPal from earlier. Thank you for your kindness. Hearts for Heather, whatever. Thank you, Heather, whatever. I appreciate it. Daniel goes, that was actually pretty good graphics for it back then. It was. Carl goes, Christine, the car, or the thing. I like them all. I cannot just pick one. I grew up with Christine, so Christine will probably be my favorite car movie no matter what, but I do like the car because I didn't find out about the car until later in life. But I do like the car. The car is creepy as hell. I like the thing too. I can't pick pick all of them, but Christine's probably always going to be because I grew up watching that one and that's going to always be my car movie. Daniel goes, not a movie at the time, but War of the Worlds. I watched, it was a series that came out, and it wasn't that popular, but it came out when I was in 6th grade. It was called War of the Worlds, and I loved it. But I've never seen the actual War of the Worlds. Heather, whatever goes, the Blob didn't scare me because you could run away unless you fell down. The Blob never scared me either. I just always thought it was cool. I like the Amityville horror. I do. I'm skeptical that it's a true story, but I love Poltergeist, Carl. All those movies you're saying, Carl, I love. I grew up watching those. Especially the second one with the creepy priest or preacher. He wasn't a priest, he was a preacher. And it's kind of sad because that actor in the second one of Poltergeist, he was actually I think he was suffering from cancer. That's why he looked, and he was working all the way up till the end. That's the crazy thing. Like he kept working, and that's why he looked so creepy. Oh, Carl, I love Hellraiser. Hellraiser's probably like, oh, Pinhead and the Cenobites, oh, with the lament configuration, I could go on for days with that one. I love that movie. That's why when people they talk about films nowadays like Terrifier 2, they said people walked out of theaters throwing up. They're talking about this new movie that's coming out. It's not out yet, but it's supposed to be like a in a violent nature. It's supposed to come out at the end of the month. They're saying it's kind of like a Friday the 13th similar film. It's a slasher film. They're saying that during the screening, people were throwing up for it. But when I saw Terrifier 2, I was like, really? Hellraiser has more blood than this. Like, what are you talking about? This is like nothing. So, Daniel goes, Creature of the Black Lagoon, Swamp Thing. Matthews talking about the preacher in Poltergeist, Reverend Henry Keane. Daniel goes, new movie called The Closet coming out soon. There's also there's one I haven't seen, the sea bear. I don't want to say the drug name here on YouTube. I have not seen that one. I've heard that people liked it. Carl goes, dude, you want to throw up while watching a movie? Watch Blair Witch Project. What was that? Oh my gosh. I know what you mean, Carl. They're supposed to remake that. They're going to do a remake. Blumhouse is getting a hold of it and going to remake it. I don't know how I feel about that. I was like, what? True. All the shaky cam footage movies. I know what you mean. Dusty goes, I saw the sea bear. It was funny. I have yet to see that. Oh, yes. Heather, whatever. Right. Cloverfield. Like, oh my God. What was that? Oh, I know what you mean. Sometimes when I'm watching, no shade against YouTubers, because I get it. When you're filming, you forget how you're holding your phone. I get it. I understand. But some YouTubers, oh my gosh, they're like this. And I'm like, no. I get it though. Sometimes you don't realize that, you're too engrossed in the moment that you're filming that you forget where you're filming. I get it. I understand. But still, note to when you guys are filming, pay attention to what you're filming. Carl goes, yeah, YouTubers got to learn how to pan. Exactly. Or no shade to people, or they'll point it at themselves. And I'm like, or not, they're not like really pointing it at themselves. I mean, they're pointing it at themselves, like their shirt. So I get it. I probably do that sometimes too, because sometimes you don't realize, you forget. You're like, oh crap. But I understand. I totally understand. Sometimes you forget where you're so engrossed in the moment because something's happening or whatever you're filming, and you forget. Sometimes I totally understand. Or you hit the button and you don't realize that the camera flipped. And then you look down, you're like, oh crap, you guys were watching me eat or whatever it may be the whole time. Daniel goes, let a 2-year-old do the filming, might do a better job. But I understand it. I get it. Sometimes we forget where we're pointing. And then sometimes we don't have a gimbal. Sometimes that happens. So you get the shaky cam thing going on. But I usually, when I don't have a gimbal, I usually say, I'm sorry if it's shaky. Sorry for the Cloverfield moment, guys. All right, guys. Any last minute questions before I end this stream? Carl goes, dude, we never saw the Blair Witch, though, just people. True. That's true. We didn't. We just saw their camera movements, their crazy camera movements, and then at the end, where with the guy looking like he's peeing in the corner. That's how I explain it. It looks like a guy is peeing in the corner, and then the camera drops. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Good stories tonight, Lisa. Carl goes, I want my $15 back from the Blair Witch Project. I never saw it in theaters, luckily, so I saw it when it came on TV. So I'm safe from that. Making sure. All right, guys, I am going to end the stream here. Thank you for joining me tonight on this Grayson Report of all things spooky. Catch me on the next one, which will be Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be there, be squared. Stay spooky, guys, and sweet nightmares, and I will see you on the next one. Good night, guys. You guys are awesome.